Hi everyone and welcome to the channel, where today we'll be going through the Unified Cloud Gateway Ultra setup with all the basic configurations required to get you up and running, reviewing briefly protection rules as well as how to set up your network. So let's begin. This is what you should see when you turn on the device the first time and patch yourself in. You will generally go to 192.168.1.1. Okay, we're just going to leave it as default. Here we can create an account. We can actually set it up without a UI account. Without a UI account, you won't have the ability to use it as a relay in the mobile app unless you set up your VPN tunnel back in, etc. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to click sign in. Okay. Next. And next. Sign in. Okay. 533. Now we do not want to restore it from the backup. We're just going to say continue without backup. And we'll give it a couple of minutes. So I'm running this currently off 4G just for the sake of this video. All right, that's actually not too bad. All right, come on, speed test, we're almost there. Yep, that makes fine. So we're just on Telstra 4G, starts with a 1. Next. Now this will take about a minute for this initial one, and then it can take 1 to 5 minutes for the controller update. So I might pause it right here and I'll be right back. Okay, it says it's complete. Go to dashboard. I guess accept risk. Let's do that login thing again. Two-factor again. Come on, two-factor. You're almost there. Okay. Now this is what you'll see when you get in here. Now unfortunately this device is probably a very entry-level device. I'm not talking about performance, but in regard to the apps that you can have installed. Unlike some of the max versions of this, etc., this can only have networking, and we'll just update it right now. It cannot have access, it cannot have talk. So if you are after any application besides networking, you're looking after the Cloud Gateway Max. Okay, this also obviously has no protect. Since we're here and that dark mode is staring at us, let's switch to dark mode. Oh, that's so much better. Alright, we'll just watch it update for a second. Now usually it does this during the update process. So you can configure it here when you want it to update weekly, daily. I usually would set it something like 3 AM. Now on the left here in the basic console, you can get to here later on. You've got, you know, the accounts that you set up. There is no devices. Console, if you wanted to change anything. Now this option here you can generally enable if this was talking directly to a public WAN interface. This case it's 4G, so it won't even let me. It probably knows that it can't. I'll take this. You don't have to. Okay, just to improve Okay, now map is pretty useless to us. Devices, let's see back if applications has finished updating. So we're almost there. All right, so now that the application has updated, we're just gonna click into it. Now you can get to here through ui.com as well. Now that's my computer. What I've chosen to do for this video this time is just plug in some spare hardware I've got here to show you more into detail how you will deploy some of these. So this high latency is probably because we're on 4G. Let's exit out of there. Now that one I've just factory reset, so we'll get to that in a minute. So okay, it looks like the devices are factory reset, are ready to adopt. Now generally I would never recommend you adopt the PoE switch as well as the access point that is actually being powered by the PoE switch, so we'll just adopt the PoE switch first, or the other way around, it makes zero difference. So I generally do the switches first because this will actually restart during this process. So keep in mind, if you plug yourself in, this will cause a restart. So we should be almost there. Getting ready. Now usually this is fairly quick, we're talking about 30 seconds or so. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, I'll click adopt on the next device. Alright, so that's ready. Did I fail to factory reset it? Maybe not. Okay, here we go. So this is kind of the default interface you would be facing when you log into this device the first time. Now it'll just give you basic statistics. You can run a speed test on here. Now keep in mind some of the units like the UX Express, which you might think is similar. Now the UX Express is, I think, a little bit more expensive than this. It has Wi-Fi 6 built in. Same apps that it can run, which is next to nothing. But the UX Express has no speed test in this section here for some reason. I do not know why. It's probably the limited performance that it's got. Now we've also had a fairly high failure rate on the UX Express. I'm not sure if there's anything particular in them. We've also had a case where a UX Express, so not this unit, we've never had one of these fail, and we've got a fair amount of them deployed. So the UX Express, which is very similar, just has a single port at the back, does not have this speed test button. Okay, we haven't really got any statistics in here because this is a brand new setup. So topology will just show us internet, UX. I'm just plugged into probably port 3. Sorry, I'm in port 2. There's port 3. As in port management, if you did need to do any VLANs, etc., you would do them here. We have not set up VLANs. We might look back to this later on. So topology, there we go. This will be devices, so I'm not going to go through all the devices. This is the basic here. You got insights, which doesn't really have anything. If you needed to restart a unit, it's right here. Basic statistics. Client devices, it would only have my computer at the moment because that's all there is. Ports, it'll tell you how they're configured. If they're VLANs, etc., you'll be able to switch to them here, and it'll tell you. Radios, if you really needed to optimize. I'm not sure if this unit can do the proper optimization because this doesn't have a the special antenna to detect the environment correctly. But you can still optimize it. What that will do is it will make sure that it doesn't conflict regarding the frequencies that it's using, regarding the channels with anything in your neighborhood. It will attempt. Now you can configure this to auto optimize. Now inside is obviously just data, up and down, hour, day, week, month. Okay, we don't really have anything in here. So we're just gonna get right into settings. Now we are in settings, so the first thing we see is Wi-Fi. I just called it test Wi-Fi, exclamation. Now generally you want to leave it as default. Now if you do use your own wireless, you can actually go manual and you can do this pre-share key selection as well, which can come in handy. So if you did have multiple networks, you can actually have one Wi-Fi name with multiple SSIDs here, and that will just patch that person right into the right network as they need it. So we might actually just do a network first, leave, new network. So I'm just gonna make it obvious, so that's VLAN 10. How you're actually labeling it doesn't matter. Most people will just do this, call it VLAN 10. If that is a guest network, you can enable guest network. If you want it isolated, that means each device cannot see each other. You can just select isolated here. The rest you most likely want to do default unless you have a need to specify this, which you can do like this as well. So VLAN 10, it's a subnet of 10, 10. Okay, we'll just hit apply. So now that you see this here, we'll go back to Wi-Fi and we'll say test Wi-Fi, test Wi-Fi, exclamation. Now we'll just say test Wi-Fi. Manual, and we'll say default, add VLAN 10, test Wi-Fi, exclamation. Okay. If you did have multiple wirelesses, you can enable fast roaming. Now keep in mind that does not work well with other devices. So this is how you set up VLANs. Internet, if you did have a second WAN you wanted to enable, you will just enable port 4 becomes the failover port, or if you wanted to balance it 50-50, let's say. We're just going to leave that as disabled. Now in general I do set up a speed test, and I try to make this later on in the afternoon when everybody's knocking off. Let's do 6 daily, apply. Okay, now VPNs. Now teleport is something you can use with Wi-Fi Man. You would load the Wi-Fi Man app in. This obviously needs to be enabled, and what that will allow you to do is connect the Wi-Fi Man app to your home regardless where you are, and then the hotspot on your phone will actually bridge you to here. Now for the other VPN servers that we got option is WireGuard and OpenVPN. You would basically just add a client, give it a name, download this config file, and it will do everything for you. If you did need to specify a name in here, what you can also actually specify an address, like let's say vpn.yourdomain.com or vpn.companyname.com, whatever it may be. That will actually make sure that the client that you generate instead of the IP address actually has that name in there. Now this will not automatically update that to that name unless you got it set up that way. So you would have to use like din DNS or something along the line if that's what you're after, and then you would enter this here. OpenVPN, pretty much the same thing. You just create a user, download the config, and L2TP, the same thing. So not much different, and L2TP actually has a pre-share key as well, which you will need to supply to the user. Okay, so just create. It's very simple. You can't really get it wrong. So I'll just leave here. Now VPN client. Now this is something you can do if you're trying to make a dial into a VPN provider. You would just upload the config file. There's going to be a connect button. And one thing you'll be able to do is, let me see if I have some settings. All right, I couldn't find any config, and it would take too long for me to log in and make it. But take my word for it, this is where you just upload it, log it in, and you can tell it to auto connect. Site to site, most people will be probably still using IPsec or Open VPN. Now, if you are fully in the Unify system, they actually have when you're up on the main portal, the Cloud Magic, it will just link them up. I'm not going to show you this because it will show other devices that I got as part of my account. So network, this is where you set up a second VLAN, VPNs. We've kind of skipped through them. Now security, country restrictions, you probably want to incoming, outgoing, block a few countries that you might not be familiar or you don't deal with or you don't want to receive traffic from. You will just block it here. Now ad guard, now this will attempt to block some of the ads that you see around Google, etc. This will not help with YouTube. DNS shield, I generally use auto. Instead of using the DNS from your upstream provider, it will use this. Upstream as in your internet provider. Okay, I would usually do this, block countries. I haven't really specified anything. Stay, let's just apply that. I don't know, Russia is in the bad books at the moment. We'll just do Russia for the sake of this test. Intrusion prevention. Now you can leave it on auto. I usually go advanced and I set this to customize. Now depending what you have, this will attempt to block any traffic that it sees as suspicious. Unfortunately, if you're using mobile apps, some of these might interfere with the mobile app's ability to connect to their servers. I'm not sure what kind of weird technology they were using. So you will actually need to go through the logs and see if some app is getting blocked and disable this accordingly. Now, some people will probably have this disabled. Most of these other things you can leave. It shouldn't really affect majority of the things, like if you see here VoIP, it shouldn't really affect it. Only if it's detecting that it's malicious activity. I'll, in this case, just leave this auto so I don't need to factory reset this device later. Actually, we'll just do dark web blocker. It'll block traffic from Tor, etc. Did I leave this on? We'll just leave this on high. Okay, down here is if you've got mobile apps that are being blocked, you would actually just add it here. Okay, port forwarding. If you did need to port forward anything, you know, like test, you've got a mail server. You shouldn't have one, but if you did, you just say 25, point it, whatever your mail service is. Mail server 25 is probably TCP. If you did want some logging, I generally enable this. Okay, and then you just hit apply. I'll leave. I mean, ACL rules, most people will not use this. if you are using this, you probably already know what you're doing. Traffic and firewall rules. This is basically for blocking applications and a couple of other things in a more precise manner. Okay. Now routing. If you did use a VPN client for upstream, this is what you would specify. So you can specify a particular device, or you can specify a particular VLAN or network, sorry. So if, for example, you did have a Wi-Fi, if you remember the passwords we made at the start, that will throw you into VLAN 10, then in this case you can make it anything in VLAN 10 automatically. There would actually be a VPN on here, will go through that VPN interface out. So let's say if you had happen to have Netflix and you wanted to dial into Canada or America or Europe. Now I've seen this device struggle with more than 3 tunnels. The fourth one just does not connect, and if you have it maxed out, it seems it will actually block you from dialing in. I'm not sure if that was a bug when I tested this last about a month ago, but about 3 tunnels is okay. 4th tunnel, it'll just hang at connecting. Eventually it connects and then it just sits there. When it connects the 4th one, I don't think they're fully working. So keep that in mind. Limited to 3 upstream VPNs, maybe less, probably 1 or 2. And then you can have Wi-Fi specifically for those. That's how I had originally deployed it. So I had 3 different VPNs and 3 different Wi-Fis. I just connected the device to the Wi-Fi I want, and it will link that device to that particular country. Now static routes, I'm not going to go through as well as all of these. Now DNS I will go through briefly. Now if you are hosting something in your house and it's, you know, mail.yourdomain.com, and you want to force it to point to device inside, you will just nominate it in here. You can do it for this for the other records as well. Now I've heard that some people expose port 53 directly to their device. I would not recommend it, and make this your DNS source. I've not tested it, how well it works. I don't know if it's secure. Either way, I would not do it. Net, you probably won't be in here, and if you're in here, you already know what you're doing. Profiles, Ethernet ports. I think from memory, this is what you can do for VoIP, etc., as well as audio. Wi-Fi speed, if you did need to configure a speed test. And then you just say 10 megs, or we'll do to limit 10, add. Okay, if we go back to Wi-Fi, can we? Okay, so the Wi-Fi per band 4 on all IPs. Cool. Let's edit this out, remove it. Actually, we'll change it to test exclamation. I'll do that in test. Okay. Now on Wi-Fi, if you have meshing enabled, am I blind? So this is Wi-Fi options that you got. Okay, so if you disable meshing, this one here, it will actually allow the device to connect to, it will allow you to have double the SSIDs. If you need meshing, you obviously need meshing. If you don't know what meshing is, it's when one access point talks to another access point and they do a wireless link. So most unified devices have this. Some will actually not pass through the DHCP scope to the port at the back. I'm not sure if this one will, but keep that in mind. Not all unified meshing is equal. Okay, I think we've covered everything. Now again, site magic, I'm not gonna go through. System here, you select your country. Now I'm down here in Australia. I like the 24-hour clock. Integration, we're not integrating to anything. SNMP, if you need this enabled, you should already know what that is. So I'm not gonna go through it. Updates, you can actually configure schedules here for your hardware. Daily, let's say 3:15, repeat daily, next. You generally, I usually make daily switches and then daily access points, a new schedule, so in case they're happen to be updating at the same time, you do not want the access point to be updating while the switch might be restarting. That will break things. Backups, you just configure the backups as you need. Now usually something like this, settings only, or if you set no limit. Now there is a limit that Unify gives you storage space. That is that because that is weird. Maybe because this is an entry-level device, they give you less. Because my default is to set it to 21, but I guess in this case it only allows you 12. Limit, no limit. The max is 12. 12 backups. So if this is monthly, so that's a year's worth. If we do daily, okay, daily allows me more. All right, that's probably, but daily only allows settings. Now I have a feeling this is just because this is an entry-level device, they limit this. I'm pretty sure I do full on my other devices. I might be wrong. Side panels, this is just, you know, some extra things for the side panels. Now, professional installer, you might want to tick. I don't recall what other options you will become available when you tick this. I think you can tweak a few more things than you usually can. But that probably summarizes. So that's Wi-Fi speeds. Radius, if you know what this is where you would set up users. You would enable this, and then you can set up users for use in other sections, like for example, some of the VPN options will use radius. Sorry, client server L2TP. This section down here for users will actually be utilizing radius, as you see. So just so you know what that is. Now radius can be configured for multiple things. It can be configured for an Active Directory server on your site. It's very limited otherwise, because Unify wants you to use their new fancy cloud subscription. Okay, so I think we've gone over everything that we need to. Oh, there's wireless meshing. So if you do not intend to use it, disable it. That will allow you to have multiple SSIDs. Sorry, I think it goes from 4 to 8 SSIDs from memory. Okay, auto link, we just leave that on. All right, I think that summarizes it. Now, if I did need to change that network from 1.1 settings network, I will change this to, I don't know, 25. Now, auto scale, I would usually recommend to just leave off. If you did want to manually specify DNS down here, you can manually specify DNS. If you did want test.com, if you wanted to specify, if you did have this as a DHCP server for an Active Directory, Now you would actually put in here the Active Directory name, whatever it is. It's usually going to be company.local. Now these days it's not recommended to have .local. I'm talking about legacy hardware. And then you would probably put DNS, the server. Let's pretend it's 1.10. Okay, without an error, that would be amazing. Option 43, you probably won't be using this, but option 43 will send a signal to all the UniFi hardware that you patch in here to send that elsewhere if you have an external controller. Network boot, if you had networking boot devices, again, if you are using this, I probably don't need to tell you. NTP, but this is probably what you're looking at now in this case, because we did say 25 at the top. We'll say 2510. I usually do this, make the DHCP scope start at 25. That way I can statically lock any device in the low ranges. So we do this. This will take a second. Now we will probably actually lose internet because this will convert that to 25. Okay. Actually, I think they made it that so you need to maybe restart the device, maybe not. The test I had running to the internet just broke. That means we will just go in here and turn off the networking interface. Turn it back on. And we should be in the 25 network now. Now anything you do regarding firewall, regarding routing policy, now including LAN, you can route out that VPN tunnel if you really wanted to. If you're like, hey, I don't want my internet company to know what I'm doing, or just like pretending I'm in Canada, you would just dial it up. So there we go. Now my DNS server is 10. Now that's probably a bad move because there's nothing on 10. So if you did have 25, if you did have this on the cloud controller, it will be very easy for you to just log in and change that DHCP. Bad move from my part to be that. Okay. Okay, oh, white mode, dark mode again, go back. Alright, network down. We'll just leave this on auto. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but up here it says company.local. So we'll just do that. Now I have just released a video on Alta Labs as Route 10. Very limited. It probably only has a fraction of what UniFi has to offer, at least right now. I don't know if they'll ever be there, but if it interests you, it's a router that's very reasonably priced. I think it's actually probably double the cost of this. But it comes with 10 gig WAN and 10 gig LAN and 4 2.5 gig ports, as well as two of those 2.5 gig ports are actually PoE. So if you're using Wi-Fi 7 access points, these days they're gonna have 2.5 gig ports at the back. This only has 1 gig ports. So you are very limited in what you can do with this device. But it's a great device to get you in there. Okay, that's fine. It just the access point needs more power than that's giving it. So have a look at that Alta Labs Route 10 video and look forward to seeing you here again. Have a good day. Bye.